The world sees Hollywood as a kingdom of flashing lights, red carpet premieres, and ageless stars. But beyond the silver screen's glow exists a tangle of untold stories far more dramatic than any screenplay. For some of the most legendary black women to ever grace the screen, their most courageous acts weren't just about shattering cinematic barriers. In their private lives, they completely upended social conventions, pursuing relationships that ignored the ticking clock and defied every public assumption. These are chronicles of intense love affairs, devastating betrayals, public scandals, and profound heartache. So what truly unfolds when a celebrated leading lady gives her heart to a man from a different generation? The truths behind these romances are more startling than you can imagine. We begin with Pam Grier and a story we call A Broken Valentine. During the 1970s, Pam Grier was the undisputed fierce monarch of black cinema, electrifying audiences in films like Coffee and Foxy Brown. Her potent combination of power and allure fundamentally changed the landscape of Hollywood, but away from the cameras, she was a woman deeply wounded by past loves. It was Valentine's Day in 1993, and on the slick, rain-soaked avenues of New Orleans, her life was about to change. Seeking refuge, Pam stepped into a dimly lit jazz bar where the rhythm of a 21-year-old drummer immediately captivated her. He had a wild, carefree grin and an energy that felt vibrant and new, compelling her after so many years of guarding her heart to consider the possibility of love once more. Just a few weeks later, they were married inside a small, crowded apartment. They exchanged vows over glasses of bourbon, fueled by a delicate hope for the future. In the heat of their newfound romance, the 18 years between them felt completely insignificant. Destiny, however, had a cruel twist in store. Not even 2 months into their marriage, Pam returned to their home and was met with undeniable evidence of betrayal. The sight of another person's shirt tossed carelessly on her couch spoke volumes, and the silence in the room was deafening. In that instant, their spontaneous union shattered, leaving her utterly devastated. For the next 5 years, she retreated completely from the public eye, vanishing from Hollywood's radar. But then, in 1997, a script from Quentin Tarantino for a film called Jackie Brown reignited the spark within her. Still deep within her powerful gaze, the haunting memory of that damp and dreary Valentine's Day remained. She could almost hear the melancholic wail of a saxophone, a painful reminder of a romance that was ultimately submerged in profound sadness. Next, Alfred Woodard and a tale we've titled Twilight on Venice Beach. Alfred Woodard consistently embodies an exceptional blend of intense passion and refined elegance, a radiant talent whose powerful portrayals have illuminated everything from the theatre stage to the silver screen. By the middle of the 1990s, she was at the absolute pinnacle of her career, widely regarded as one of the most formidable and influential actresses of her time. However, even a woman with her remarkable fortitude and resilience was still vulnerable to the sting of a broken heart. On Valentine's Day in 1995, she was spotted strolling hand in hand with an up-and-coming young director across the sun-drenched shores of Venice Beach. They openly fantasized about getting away from it all, envisioning a tranquil life by the ocean far removed from the relentless paparazzi and the industry's cutting gossip. For one fleeting moment, it appeared that love could finally offer her a true sanctuary. But the industry chatter soon became toxic, morphing from simple gossip into malicious rumours. Their private conversations grew strained with mistrust. Potential movie projects mysteriously fell apart, and the delicate connection they shared began to crack under the immense pressure of the brewing scandal. A relationship that held the promise of becoming something enduring simply faded into nothing, leaving Alfred injured, but certainly not defeated. Instead of withdrawing, she channeled every ounce of her emotional pain directly into her work. Each fissure in her spirit was transformed into raw power, fueling some of the most memorable and compelling performances of her career. She masterfully converted her anguish into artistic strength. The Hollywood machine may have attempted to overshadow her, but Alfred Woodard's light only intensified. Her enduring legacy is therefore a testament not only to her immense talent, but also to the profound resilience forged in the fires of a lost love. Now to Lola Falana and the story of a Vegas queen's betrayal. Throughout the 1970s, there was no bigger name on the Las Vegas Strip than Lola Falana. Every single night at the legendary Caesars Palace, her dazzling smile and smooth velvety voice commanded thunderous standing ovations from captivated audiences. This stardom brought her an astonishing $100,000 per week, a salary typically reserved for the absolute titans of entertainment. She held dominion over that stage, an incredible vision of beauty adorned in sequins and raw power. Yet away from the blinding glare of the spotlights, her soul yearned for an authentic connection, something deeper and more meaningful than the nightly roar of the crowd. That profound yearning guided her on May 5th, 1980, into a secluded backroom within the opulent chaos of Caesars. Cutting through the thick fog of cigarette smoke and the scent of inexpensive perfume, a 22-year-old man, distinguished by his worn-out shoes and incredibly optimistic gaze, extended a glass of whiskey to her. Merely 2 weeks after that meeting inside the flickering candlelight of a presidential suite, they committed to one another in a peculiar, informal spiritual ritual. There were no legal documents, no one there to bear witness, just softly spoken vows and the symbolic act of Lola placing her platinum bracelet into his hands as a profound gesture of her trust. When the sun rose the next day, the man had vanished. The bracelet was also gone, along with a staggering $80,000 from her personal savings. All that remained was a single crumpled piece of paper on the nightstand. The note simply read, "I'm sorry, my life is just getting started." The betrayal was absolute, and it shattered her completely. In the aftermath, Lola abruptly gave up her entire career, nullifying her lucrative contracts and turning her back on the mesmerizing glow of the Vegas Strip for good. She disappeared from public life, exchanging the sound of applause for the quiet solace of convent prayers, her sleep forever disturbed by the ghost of that devastating betrayal. And finally, Bay Richards and the scandal that erupted at a birthday party in Oakland. Bay Richards, the supremely elegant and respected star of the landmark film Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, was widely revered for her poise and an inner strength that seemed unbreakable. She projected an aura of quiet command, a dedicated activist who championed justice both in her roles and in her real life. Yet concealed beneath this composed and graceful facade was a personal story so unexpected it would astonish even her most intimate friends and colleagues. The date was March 3rd, 1979, and the gathering for her 59th birthday in Oakland was about to take a completely unforeseen and shocking direction. The partygoers stared completely stunned as Bay made her entrance on the arm of a local street musician who was almost 4 decades her junior. The gossip began to spread through the room like wildfire. Whispers circulated about a sacred ritual, a commitment made far from any official records, their promises bound not by law, but by pure, unwavering devotion. In her mind, this was not about defying convention or creating a scandal. It was simply about embracing love wherever it bloomed. But society, predictably, was unforgiving and merciless. The celebrated artist, who had once held audiences captive with her profound grace, found herself unceremoniously shoved into the margins, relegated to lesser stages where her immense talent was all but hidden from view. Despite these immense setbacks, she steadfastly refused to abandon her passion for her craft. She channeled her creative fire into local theatre productions, expressive poetry and passionate activism, determined that no amount of public scorn would silence her powerful voice. Upon her death, she bequeathed a powerful legacy of bravery, a testament to a woman who loved without fear, lived on her own terms and fought tirelessly for her rightful place in the spotlight. The story of Lynn Whitfield, A Queen's Reign, brought crashing down in the heart of Beverly Hills. During the early 1990s, Lynn Whitfield was at the absolute zenith of her professional life. Her spectacular performance as Josephine Baker in the HBO special solidified her status as Hollywood royalty, bringing her a prestigious Emmy Award and the widespread acclaim of an industry that appeared poised to celebrate her extraordinary talent. Her presence was captivating and dynamic. She possessed a fearless spirit that didn't hesitate to push against conventional norms and challenge the status quo. She exuded a regal elegance at every public appearance, a true queen of the red carpet. But everything began to unravel in 1994, and her carefully constructed kingdom started to crumble. It was at the iconic Beverly Hills Hotel where Lynn became entangled in a passionate and fast-moving affair with a director who was just 25 years old. Their nights became a confusing haze of intimate promises and professional aspirations, fueling a connection that was both utterly intoxicating and fraught with peril. Before long, intimate photographs were leaked to the gossip columns, and as the scandal erupted, her young lover turned on her, filing a lawsuit that publicly cast her in a malicious and villainous light. The industry shunned her almost overnight. Movie deals evaporated, producers pulled out of projects, and the flood of glamorous invitations bearing her name suddenly dried up completely. Throughout the remainder of the 1990s, she fought desperately to stay relevant, forced to accept smaller parts and dwindling opportunities as she battled professional obscurity. But Lynn was a survivor and refused to be erased. In the early 2000s, her unforgettable and haunting presence in Greenleaf would eventually reignite her career, serving as a stark reminder to everyone of her formidable and unparalleled talent. Even so, the damage from that ordeal left a lasting mark. Her story stands as a cautionary tale of how swiftly the Hollywood machine can build up a queen only to tear her down without a second thought. Diane Carroll's secret vow shrouded in darkness. A true icon of sophistication, Diane Carroll was a pioneering force who reshaped perceptions of beauty and power, first in her groundbreaking role in Julia, and later captivating the world in Dynasty. As the 1990s drew to a close, her status as a living legend was undisputed. Yet beneath the impeccable glamour and composed exterior, she harboured a deep yearning for a genuine, heartfelt connection. Destiny made its move on Halloween night of 1997 during a lavish and sparkling masquerade ball in New York City. Surrounded by the soft glow of candles and the cheerful sounds of celebration, she met the gaze of a 27-year-old street photographer, and in that moment, everything changed. The connection was immediate and electric. In just a few short weeks, hidden away from the world inside her Manhattan residence, they secretly pledged their undying love to one another. There was no official license, nor were there any witnesses to the event, just softly spoken promises and a palpable, profound devotion. To commemorate their private commitment, Carroll presented him with an extravagant gift, a $9,000 Patek Philippe watch, which served as a tangible symbol of the future she desperately wanted to believe in. A mere 5 months after their secret ceremony, the young photographer disappeared without a trace, taking her personal assistant with him. He left behind nothing but a deafening silence, the sting of a deep betrayal and a profound emptiness that would haunt her for years to come. To the outside world, Diane Carroll remained the picture of composure, the same elegant icon cherished by her countless admirers. But in her private life, she was haunted by the memory of that clandestine affair, carrying an emotional wound that was carefully concealed behind her famously radiant smile. Despite the incredible fortitude she projected, her heart forever held the lingering spectre of a love affair that was destined to exist only in the shadows. Cicely Tyson and the profound love she chose to release. Far more than just a performer, Cicely Tyson was a powerful symbol of endurance, a vessel for both sorrow and unwavering hope. Her iconic roles, particularly in the autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman, etched her name permanently into the annals of history as she brought voice and visibility to stories of struggle that had long been ignored. While her on-screen personas were paragons of strength, her personal life held a narrative that was far more delicate and vulnerable. The city of Paris set the scene for an unforeseen love story in May of 1981. As the city bloomed with the signs of spring, she encountered a 26-year-old guitarist, a young man whose unkempt appearance and soul-searching eyes seemed to reflect the same deep loneliness she felt within herself. Despite an age difference of 31 years, the bond they formed felt profound and eternal, as if it transcended time itself. Tucked away in a humble attic apartment near the Bastille, they made a commitment to one another, sealing their promise with an unassuming silver ring they'd found at a local antique market. For one brief, hopeful moment, Tyson let herself imagine that their love could overcome the obstacles of age, public opinion, and geography. But news of her romance travelled swiftly across the Atlantic to New York. Pressure mounted as family, close friends, and powerful figures in the industry cautioned her against the potential for scandal, insisting that she safeguard her reputation and career above all else. Just 3 days before they were to be married, she called it off without a word of explanation. All that remained was a white wedding dress hanging untouched in a silent room. Following that, Cicely never married again. In place of personal partnership, she poured all of her energy into her work and her community, transforming her most profound emotions into powerful art that would inspire generations. The story of Lynn Hamilton, a whispered secret by the ocean. Lynn Hamilton, widely adored for her memorable role in Sanford and Son, was a woman who consistently projected an aura of quiet grace, whether she was in front of the camera or living her private life. Following the tragic loss of her husband in 1981, she retreated from the public eye, embracing a solitary existence deliberately removed from the chaotic world of Hollywood. However, her quiet life took a surprising new direction during a Cancun getaway in the summer of 1985. It was on August 25th that she was seen strolling along the beach, holding hands with a photographer who was just 28 years old. Just as the sun vanished into the ocean, rumours started circulating about a clandestine wedding ceremony on the sand. There were no legal documents, no officiant in sight, just the endless sea to bear witness to their vows. Gossip suggested she commemorated the union with a delicate tattoo on her wrist, a permanent mark celebrating a love that blossomed unexpectedly in her life. However, that intense connection receded as quickly as the tide. The young man vanished completely, becoming nothing more than a ghost in a swirl of speculation. Whenever journalists pressed for the real story, they were met with a wall of silence. Hamilton offered no confirmation and issued no denial. She gracefully retreated back to her private existence, her secrets held close. In the public eye, she maintained her image as a beacon of warmth and resilience. But behind closed doors, she cherished the memory of a love affair, as ephemeral as the waves that lapped the shores of Cancun. A chapter left unwritten, a story she carried with her to the very end. Next, the tale of Eartha Kitt and her secrets in Tokyo. Eartha Kitt was a force of nature who refused to yield to authority. Her sensual voice and audacious personality etched her into memory. She was a chameleon, shifting from the flirtatious allure of Santa Baby to the untamed spirit of Catwoman. But her life took a dramatic turn in 1968 after she openly condemned the Vietnam War during a luncheon at the White House, forever altering her path. The entertainment industry ostracized her, effectively forcing her into exile. She sought sanctuary in Tokyo, where the city's glaring neon signs helped conceal her profound isolation. Within the haze of jazz clubs, she channeled her heartache into performances filled with the pain of being an outcast. Then, in March of 1971, destiny stepped in. She was at Club Oasis when she encountered Kazuo, a dynamic 24-year-old dancer from Kobe whose vibrant presence cut through the city's dreary atmosphere. The spark between them was immediate and undeniable. Just a few days after meeting, hidden away in a Shinjuku hotel room, they performed a private ceremony, binding their wrists together with a silk ribbon to seal their commitment. Their joy, however, was tragically brief. A mere 3 days later, disaster struck. The headlines of a Tokyo newspaper delivered the devastating news Kazuo had been killed in a motorcycle accident. The incident was met with official silence, no formal investigation, no explanations offered. Rumours hinted at a darker story, but she was left alone to mourn in secret. To the outside world, she maintained her famously energetic and lively persona. But on the inside, she bore a wound that would never fully close, a hidden story of profound love and devastating loss that stayed with her for the rest of her life. Now for Jane Kennedy and a risky affair in the Florida Keys. Jane Kennedy was a radiant star who captivated American television audiences from her time on NFL Today to her unforgettable performance in Body and Soul. Her stunning beauty and magnetic personality made her seem invincible, a figure whose very name was synonymous with grace and influence. Yet away from the roaring crowds, Jane was nursing the emotional scars of a tumultuous 1984 divorce, leaving her desperately seeking a new source of happiness. Then on Valentine's Day, she was spotted in the Florida Keys, strolling hand in hand with a much younger man, a 23-year-old professional tennis player. As the golden sun shimmered on the water, the sound of their shared laughter floated on the wind. It was a fleeting moment where it seemed fate was granting her another shot at love. Gossip quickly began to swirl about an unofficial commitment between the two, fueled by whispers of promises made to mend her broken heart. That beautiful fantasy, however, came crashing down in less than a single year. The young athlete betrayed her trust, initiating a legal battle to claim a portion of her earnings. Despite the absence of a legal marriage, Jane was ultimately compelled to hand over a significant part of her fortune. An affair that had started with such promise concluded in a bitter betrayal, shattering her professional life and leaving deep emotional wounds. Transforming from a beloved celebrity into an unwilling hermit, Jane's life became a stark warning for others in Hollywood. Still, even in her withdrawal, her story continues to resonate, serving as a powerful reminder that when love is gambled under the harsh spotlight of fame, the price can be absolutely everything. Tamara Dobson, an icon who loved away from the spotlight. Throughout the 1970s, she was a colossal presence in Hollywood, both in her physical stature and her cultural impact. Standing almost 6 feet tall with her breathtaking looks and authoritative air, she emerged as a legendary figure of the blaxploitation film era. Her portrayal of Cleopatra Jones was more than simple movie entertainment. It was a powerful declaration for an entire culture. It was undeniable proof that black women could embody ferocity, glamour, and strength simultaneously. Yet once the cameras were off, Tamara's vibrant world would shrink into silence. Toward the end of 1978, she had quietly withdrawn from the Hollywood scene, making her way back to her roots in Baltimore. On a cold evening in November, inside a dimly lit local bar, destiny brought her face to face with an ambitious 20-year-old man working behind the counter. Surrounded by the sounds of clinking ice and soulful tunes, these two solitary individuals discovered a mutual sense of comfort in one another's presence. Far from the glare of tabloids and photographers, she welcomed him into her private world, even tempting him with the sun-drenched possibilities of a life in California. Ultimately, the immense pressure of her celebrity, the persistent loneliness she felt, and the vast chasm separating their lives became an insurmountable obstacle. He was gone within a year. There was no dramatic breakup, only a quiet departure. In response, Tamara withdrew even more from the world, her public star fading as sickness gradually claimed her. Her passing in 2006 occurred not to the sound of thunderous applause, but with the gentle dimming of a legend who had once burned so brightly on the silver screen. This hidden love affair, much like her film career, was audacious, fleeting, and utterly memorable. Barbara McNair and the fateful deal that silenced her music. With a luminous smile and a voice as smooth as velvet, Barbara McNair once commanded both the stage and the silver screen. As the charismatic host of the Barbara McNair Show, she captivated viewers from coast to coast. Her sophisticated style was matched only by her incredible, undeniable gift. However, concealed behind the blinding lights of fame was a woman desperately struggling to maintain her grasp on love and financial security. It was August 11th, 1976, during a tour with her intimate musical ensemble, that Barbara was photographed hand in hand with a musician who was just 23 years old. The gossip mill ignited almost instantly. Chatter quickly escalated, suggesting a clandestine agreement, a deal born not just from passion, but from a desperate need for protection, a shrewd move to safeguard the dwindling remnants of her wealth. For a brief period, their relationship appeared to be a perfect symphony. But that melody soon soured into a jarring cacophony as their connection disintegrated into a vicious court battle that ultimately left Barbara financially shattered. The very same artist whose voice had once celebrated love and pure joy found herself spending her final years in a state of profound quiet. A profound sense of betrayal had effectively silenced her iconic voice. Nevertheless, Barbara's enduring legacy shines brilliantly. She was a true trailblazer who broke down barriers for others. Her timeless music continues to resonate with undeniable passion and elegance. Her tragic fall from grace wasn't a conclusion, but rather a cautionary tale illustrating how even the most legendary figures can be shattered by misplaced faith. So the question remains, was Barbara incredibly reckless to put everything on the line, or was she exceptionally brave for daring to pursue love exactly as she saw fit? Now let's talk about the quiet fire of Ruby Dee. To call her just an actress would be an understatement. She was an undeniable force of nature. Over many decades, she stood shoulder to shoulder with Ossie Davis, not only her husband, but her dedicated partner in both their creative endeavours and their passionate activism. As a pair, they evolved into powerful symbols of enduring love, incredible strength and unwavering resilience during the struggle for civil rights. But after Davis's passing in 2005, Ruby was engulfed by a deep silence that no prestigious award or thunderous applause could ever penetrate. Then just 2 years down the line, on April 19th, 2007, destiny intervened unexpectedly at a poetry reading in a cosy Harlem cafe. It was there she encountered a 29-year-old poet, a young man with eyes that seemed to contain the stories of 1,000 lifetimes. Their connection was instantaneous, yet remarkably private, flourishing gently through secret looks and hushed, meaningful conversations. People in the neighbourhood began to wonder, and the gossip columns buzzed with speculation, yet Ruby remained elegantly silent, offering neither confirmation nor denial. In her view, finding love in the later chapters of her life required no outside approval. All that mattered was the simple, profound experience of being truly seen, deeply cherished and completely understood once more. For Ruby, this particular phase of her life was never intended to be about creating scandal or a public spectacle. Instead, it was a journey of healing, a quiet search for solace in companionship, following a long life filled with highly public struggles and triumphs. Upon her passing in 2014, she bequeathed to the world not just an immense legacy of artistic achievement and social activism, but also the beautiful memory of a final gentle love that brought warmth to her soul during her last days. Next, we explore the story of Madge Sinclair and a romance that remained just off stage. Madge Sinclair, celebrated for her majestic role in Coming to America and her commanding depictions of African-American womanhood, possessed a dignified grace that appeared almost impenetrable. However, away from the cameras, her heart was just as susceptible to vulnerability as anyone else's. It was on March 2nd, 1986, during her time as a drama instructor at a Los Angeles Arts Academy, that the first rumours started to circulate. Madge had formed a special bond with a 20-year-old student, a young man brimming with potential, who deeply admired her. Their rapport, while delicate, was unmistakably real. Joint practice sessions evolved into long, deep conversations, which soon sparked discussions about her possibly leaving Hollywood behind to pursue love in a more private setting. For a fleeting time, she seriously contemplated the idea, allowing herself to imagine a future that broke all the conventional rules. Unfortunately, the world that surrounded her proved to be completely unforgiving. The weight of family expectations, the intense scrutiny of the entertainment industry, and the harsh judgment from a public fixated on their age difference ultimately suffocated what could have been a beautiful connection. Madge bravely continued with her career, delivering performances that seemed to shine with even greater brilliance, all while quietly fighting a personal battle against cancer. When she passed away in 1995, she left behind an incredible legacy of strength, profound courage, and exceptional artistry, alongside the poignant memory of a love that was never given the chance to fully blossom. And then there's Vonetta McGee Oakland's smouldering, unfinished flame. Vonetta McGee was absolutely captivating. With her intense gaze and fearless spirit, she reigned as a queen of 1970s blaxploitation films. In movies such as Blackula and Thomasine and Bushrod, her impact went far beyond mere entertainment. She demolished barriers, carving out a new space in cinema for black women to be portrayed as fiercely independent, authoritative and truly unforgettable. Yet as the decade drew to a close, the bright lights of fame began to dim for her. By 1980, Vanetta had made a quiet retreat back to Oakland, taking her immense talent far from the harsh glare of Hollywood. And it was there, within a humble backstage dressing room, that destiny stepped in. There she crossed paths with Marcus, a 16-year-old actor who was just starting out on his own professional journey. What began as late-night practice sessions and casual shared meals gradually blossomed into a romance that became the subject of hushed gossip due to their significant age difference. For Vanetta, this relationship offered companionship in a world that seemed to have forgotten her. For Marcus, however, it represented a strategic opportunity. He skillfully leveraged her established name to get his foot in the door, pursue acting roles and exert influence. His own driving ambitions seemed to prey upon her emotional vulnerability. The quiet whispers soon escalated into loud rumours. Endorsement deals vanished. Film producers began to distance themselves. By 1982, her professional life was in complete tatters. In the aftermath, Vanetta retreated into a life of near total silence, opting for privacy over the brutal indifference of an industry that was all too eager to cast her aside. Upon her death in 2010, her passing was not marked by splashy headlines, but by a quiet, reverent remembrance of a pioneer whose star had once shone so incredibly brightly. Finally, we turn to Della Reese and the secret she kept hidden in Chicago. Della Reese, the phenomenal gospel vocalist who would later capture the hearts of millions as the angel Tess on Touched by an Angel, led a life filled with extraordinary brilliance, but one that also held its share of secrets. Well, before she made her celebrated comeback to television, she navigated a period of intense personal turmoil that very few people were ever aware of. It was deep in the winter of 1991 on December 18th when Della was first seen in a dimly lit Chicago nightclub, accompanied by an incredibly gifted vocalist who was a mere 25 years old. The chemistry between them was electric and undeniable, an improbable romance that quietly blossomed in the spaces where the cameras couldn't reach, a world away from the public eye. For several months, their lives were so intertwined they were practically married, sharing a home and a life in all but the legal sense. Rumours started to circulate hushed whispers of a secret wedding, a strategic move designed to shield their considerable fortunes from prying eyes. For a fleeting period, it truly felt as if love had finally given Della the profound sense of comfort and security she had been searching for her entire life. However, the intense spotlight of the media turned out to be a cruel and unforgiving force. With the gossip columns churning out endless speculation, the crushing weight of the constant scrutiny became too much to bear, and their delicate relationship shattered under the pressure. That ill-fated romance left behind emotional wounds that never quite healed, a permanent scar Della would carry deep in her soul. Yet when she made her comeback to Hollywood, she did so with a fierce, unparalleled resilience, channeling all of that personal pain into professional power. Her iconic role on Touched by an Angel evolved into something more than just acting. It became a powerful mirror reflecting her own inner strength and survival. She was an angel on television, but in reality, she was a woman who had battled her way through some very real, very human hardships. Next up, Denise Nicholas, a love story, tragically silenced by the pressures of Hollywood. Denise Nicholas radiated a unique combination of elegance and sharp intellect, completely captivating viewers in hit shows like Room 222 and In the Heat of the Night. Her quiet, dignified strength made her an absolute standout, especially during a time when meaningful roles for African-American actresses were incredibly rare. But behind the scenes, away from the glaring lights of the set, she was privately grappling with profound grief following the tragic and sudden death of her husband in 1977. Then, about a year later, on October 10th, 1978, destiny seemed to present her with a fragile glimmer of new hope. While at an audition in Los Angeles, she crossed paths with Terrence, an aspiring young actor still fighting for his breakthrough role. The bond that formed between them was gentle and slow-burning, developing over quiet coffee dates, shared tender looks, and long soul-bearing conversations late into the night. Theirs was a love story that was whispered, not shouted from the rooftops, a precious, rare source of comfort for two kindred spirits who were both searching for a place to belong. But the machinery of Hollywood proved to be absolutely merciless. The moment that whispers of their relationship began to surface, Denise was unceremoniously dropped from a major role she had secured on a television series. Her once bright career, which had held so much promise, suddenly devolved into a series of unanswered phone calls and opportunities that mysteriously disappeared into thin air. Terence, completely devastated by the professional backlash against her, pulled away. He simply couldn't stand to watch Denise's career be destroyed for the crime of loving him. Utterly heartbroken by the experience, she stepped away from acting and turned her focus to writing, where she channeled all her pain strength and resilience into the written word. Her subsequent novels are filled with the lingering ache of a love affair that was cruelly suffocated before it ever had a chance to fully blossom. Denise Nicholas always maintained her grace, but her professional silence echoed far more profoundly than any applause Hollywood could offer. And now Marla Gibbs and the story of a love storm that brewed in the Bahamas. Marla Gibbs, forever immortalised for her razor-sharp wit and undeniable strength as Florence Johnston on The Jeffersons, was a true television powerhouse. She always conducted herself with a remarkable combination of iron will and elegant grace, eventually choosing to retreat from the chaotic Hollywood scene to embrace a more peaceful existence later in life. However, in January of 1992, while she was on tour with a modest theatre production, fate intervened with a completely different script for her life. She found herself in the Bahamas, a picturesque setting of golden sands and breathtaking turquoise waves. When her path intersected with that of Terence, a 25-year-old production assistant who was absolutely brimming with youthful charm and admiration for her. The connection they shared felt like a genuine escape from reality, leading to carefree days filled with sun-drenched laughter and nights defined by quiet, stolen moments of tenderness. For Marla, it felt as though this island paradise had unexpectedly offered her a precious second chance at finding love. But then the devastating betrayal followed swiftly. Somehow, photographs of the pair holding hands under the warm tropical sun were leaked and ended up in the hands of the press. It wasn't long before quiet whispers erupted into scandalous headlines and Marla was forced to confront a cruel reality. Terence had sold the details of their private romance to a gossip magazine for a quick payday. The very same romance that had felt so healing was now twisted into a cheap and public scandal. In the face of this, Marla never lashed out publicly. She never fought back. Instead, she simply retreated, pulling back from the very stage she had once commanded with such unmistakable fire and passion. The roles she took later in her career were mere flickers of her past brilliance, the quiet work of a spirit that had been deeply wounded but remained far too proud to ever ask for anyone's pity. Finally, Teresa Merritt, a story like a blues melody that was cut short far too soon. Teresa Merritt, known for her warm, melodic voice as the star of That's My Mama, brought a special kind of comfort and infectious laughter into millions of American households all throughout the 1970s. Her on-screen presence was consistently tender, incredibly genuine and absolutely filled with heart. But after the show concluded its run in 1975, the bright spotlight on her career began to fade and her personal life grew increasingly quiet. Then, on July 5th, 1977, inside a legendary Atlanta jazz club, Teresa found herself captivated by an aspiring musician, a young man of only 21. Their connection blossomed amidst the smoky atmosphere of music halls, their story set to a soundtrack of brass instruments and soulful blues. It was a romance they never once acknowledged in public, yet it became a widely whispered secret throughout the city's vibrant nightlife scene. There were even claims that they had married in secret, exchanging vows in a dimly lit room, without any official paperwork or legal contracts, letting the music itself be their only witness. Unfortunately, this beautiful dream would eventually turn into a crushing nightmare. The young musician began to shamelessly leverage Teresa's established name to book his own gigs, tarnishing her professional reputation with ugly whispers of exploitation. Feeling betrayed in her personal life and deeply wounded in her career, she soon began to face overwhelming financial difficulties. The very woman who had once brought so much joy to millions of people was now forced to struggle completely in silence. She spent the final years of her life far removed from the glamorous bright lights of the stage she once commanded. Her songs seemed to fade away prematurely, much like a beautiful blues melody that abruptly ends before reaching its final powerful chorus. Still, her story serves as a poignant reminder of the inherent risks of love and the steep price one can pay for opening your heart when the world is simply waiting to take advantage. These are the stories of love loss and the high price of fame. The life of Carmen de Lavallade was a breathtaking tapestry woven from dance and artistic expression, a legacy now defined by her journey through profound loss. As a radiant icon of the Broadway stage and a dancer of almost ethereal grace, she consistently captivated audiences, leaving them utterly spellbound with each appearance. But when her celebrated husband and creative partner, the legendary Geoffrey Holder, passed away in 2014, Carmen retreated from the public eye, vanishing from the stages she once commanded. She sought refuge in the quiet solitude of visual arts, pouring her emotions onto canvas instead of the stage. However, even in the depths of her sorrow, tantalizing rumors of a new, unexpected romance began to surface, pulling her back into the spotlight. The speculation intensified on May 7th, 2016, when Carmen was spotted in an unassuming Manhattan rehearsal studio with a gifted choreographer, a man merely 28 years old. Their undeniable connection immediately ignited a firestorm of curiosity across the arts community. Was this a simple case of a master artist mentoring a young talent, or was something far more intimate blossoming between them? The gossip mills went into overdrive, painting a picture of a relationship that defied easy labels, blurring the sacred line between mentor and lover, with insiders whispering about plans to build a new future together. For an icon who had built her entire world around a singular devotion to her craft and her family, this represented a shockingly audacious new chapter. In the end, however, Carmen chose a different path, one of fierce independence. She re-emerged not on Broadway, but on more intimate stages, using her dance as a powerful act of transformation rather than an escape from her history. You could feel the profound weight of her loss in every deliberate step she took, and each elegant gesture was saturated with a deep, palpable sense of longing. Her grief did not shatter her. Instead, it became the very fuel for her creative fire, turning sorrow into breathtaking movement that communicated more than words ever could. Do you see her choice to recommit to art over a new love as a sign of incredible strength? Or perhaps was it simply the final, inevitable sacrifice made by a woman whose destiny was eternally bound to the demands of the stage?